Joe here with harvesttec. We're out here in Cambridge, Wisconsin, joined by Ryan, our engineer. We're here today to install a 201 FH moisture sensor on a New Holland FP240.
The first step is identifying where we want to mount the moisture sensor pads. In a pull-type forage harvester, we want to mount the sensor pads towards the end of the chute on the top side of the chute. We want to space those sensors as far apart as possible towards the corners, but we don't want to get in the way of anything that's going to interfere with our mounting of them. Generally, closer to the end of the chute, the better. We typically try to offset the two sensors a couple inches forward or back. The first step that we're going to start with is put our safety glasses on, and then we're going to locate the drill bits and the template that are provided in the kit. The template has 5 holes. The end with 3 holes on it is going to go towards the tractor side. And then we're going to locate the smallest drill bit in the kit. There's 2 of them. One's a spare. And this drill bit you're going to use to drill 5 pilot holes through the top of the chute for each sensor. So when it comes to mounting these sensors, we want to make sure that we're not going to, when we drill our holes up through from the inside, we're not going to have anything that we run into interference-wise. So we want to get up and we want to look at the top side. We see that there's a couple studs here towards the outside we want to avoid. We also want to stay far enough back from the end of the main spout that we're not going to interfere with the flapper on the end. This is a used machine. It's got a little bit of gummy buildup in this section of the spout. We want to make sure that we clean that off before we mount our sensors in there, so that we're mounting our sensors directly to the inside of the spout. So I'm going to take a grinder with a flap disc and just clean that up a little bit. That'll give me a good spot to lay my template, be able to mark it, clearly see the marks, so then I can center punch it and drill it. There we go. That should be good. That should be good enough. So now we're ready to put our template up against the bare metal, mark our hole locations for both sensors, and then we can center punch those locations. Now that we have our holes marked, we're ready to start drilling. So we're going to use the smallest drill bit that's in the supplied kit, and we're going to drill 5 pilot holes through the spout for each sensor. Now that we have our 5 pilot holes drilled for each sensor, we're going to find the medium-sized bit in the kit, put that in our drill, and then we're going to drill out the outside 4 holes for each sensor. So the 4 corner holes. Go slow. With the pilot holes drilled, they go pretty easy. You can also use this medium-sized bit to drill out the 5th hole, or the one that's more towards the center. That's the one that the sensor wire or the sensor lead is going to go up through. So we can drill it out with this medium-sized bit and then come back with the biggest bit and finish off that hole. So after drilling the holes through from the bottom side, the top side, you're going to have some burrs on the top from the drill bit. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my grinder and touch those up, get rid of those burrs, so that my hardware will seat down to the top of the spout without issue. So when it comes time to put the sensor in, install the sensor, you've got the sensor pad, isolator, sensor electrode. You've got a little stainless steel diverter plate. This diverter plate goes on the front edge of the sensor pad, and it's secured in place by 2 of these small Allen head flat screws that are going to thread through the insulator into the threads of the diverter plate. And then we're going to use a 5/64 Allen head wrench to tighten those screws, snug them up into that diverter plate. So we're going to feed the wire up through that larger hole, and then we're going to line up the front 2 bolts with the 2 holes that we drilled. And we've got enough play that we can get our back 2 sensor holes lined up as well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let the sensor kind of hang by the sensor lead just a little bit. And I'm going to take the tube of silicone rubber sealant that is provided with the kit. I'm going to apply a little bit of this sealant to the back side of the sensor pad and around the wire where it's going to go up through the spout. I don't need to use too much. The sealant will help the sensor pad stick to the spout. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a couple of the nuts from the kit, actually 4 nuts and 2 additional screws. One hand holding the sensor up, just get a couple of these nuts started on the top side just so I can hold everything in place, it won't fall out. So now I've got my 4 screws through loosely, secured by nuts on the top side. My wire lead is coming up through the top of the spout. And now I'm going to grab my 5/64 Allen head little wrench, and I've got 11/32 socket on this little quarter inch drive ratchet. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to tighten the nuts on the front 2 screws that are held in place in the diverter, and then I'm going to hold my Allen head wrench on the back 2 screws and tighten the nuts on those. And then I'm going to put just a little bit more silicone sealant around where the wire is coming up through, keep any vibrations from damaging the wire, hold the wire in place. Now that we've got both sensors mounted, we've got both sensor leads run through the top of the spout, we need to install the 2-pin Deutsch connector supplied with the kit. We can take the left sensor lead and place that in the number 1 position of the connector. So you're going to take the pin, install it through the gasket in the back side of the connector. You're going to hold it, push it in until it clicks. Give it a little tug back and forth. It's secured. Take the right sensor connector, plug that into position 2 of the connector. Last thing you're going to do is you're going to take the little green wedge, is going to get pressed into place inside there and hold those pins secure. One way to do it is grab it by the top with the needle nose pliers and just be gentle with it. Kind of ease it down in there. Once it's in position, you can apply a little pressure till that snaps into place. Now our wires are secured. Once that's done, I want to find a spot where you can secure the wires, where they're going to be out of the way, where they're not going to get snagged. Now that we've got the sensors installed, we've got our 2-pin connector connected to our 2 sensor leads. We need to route the wire harness from the sensor location along the machine up into the tractor to the controller. The kit is supplied with 3 different lengths of wire harness that can be used in any combination. So what we want to do is first determine where we're going to secure the wire harness along the spout. The kit is supplied with cable ties as well as adhesive pads that you can cable tie to. So the first one, I'm going to mount the pad right about here so that I can secure the end of the long wire and clip it into the 2-pin connector. And start with the long wire harness. The one thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you mate your connectors up before you install your wire. keeps you from installing your wire backwards. I have installed 2 more adhesive cable tie brackets towards the bottom of the spout. And what I'm doing here is I'm following the top edge of the spout, and I want to get down to where I can follow the existing wiring that I know isn't going to be affected by the rotation, any rotation of the spout. So I'm going to secure it here, secure it there, and then on this machine, it's got a wire that runs from this motor, makes a loop, it's connected to the spout, and then the wire loops down here and is connected to the frame of the forage harvester. By following this wire with my wire, I know that I'm not going to either get my wire pinched or stretch my wire, or I'm going to have too much slack somewhere. So I'm going to go from the spout right to this wire harness and secure it with a cable tie. The factory wire routes along the side of the, I guess you'd call it the blower transition, and the light. We're going to feed our wire harness through there as well. On this machine, it's got some hydraulic lines that run back for a dump cart. We're going to follow that routing with our wiring as well. We connected our wire harness back there. We loosely ran it underneath here. I've got a spot where I can secure it back here and then jump up and secure it to the existing wire harness, but I'm going to leave it loose for right now. I'm going to follow the existing wire harness, route this up here, and I want to have my disconnect up by where their disconnect is going to be. So I'm going to cable tie it up here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way backwards along the wire harness, securing it. That way any excess wire I can tuck up underneath and hide.
So now that you get to the drawbar, you want to continue this connection. In this case, we're doing the 0062766 harness, and we're just going to essentially just continue it up into your cab. So you want to take the male end to the female end, plug that in until it clicks, and then just continue up to where existing harnesses already are, up into the cab. And then you can go ahead and zip tie, nice and snug. You want to leave a little slack, but you don't want to have any, much of any play.
So now that we've got the wire harness from the sensors run up into the cab, we need to connect the power and sensor harness provided with the kit to a keyed power source in the tractor. On this tractor, it's got a 3-pin convenience connector on the back side of the corner post, where you've got constant 12-volt power, ground, and then you've got a keyed power tab on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to utilize a digital multimeter to determine which one is our ground, which one is our keyed power, so that we can create an adapter to go between the convenience plug on the tractor and the harness provided with the harvesttec kit. So there we have 12 volts constant power with the key turned off. If we go over to the other lug, we have 0 volts there, so we know that that one is not receiving power right now. If we turn the key on and check that lug, now we have close to 12 volts power on that lug. So we know that that's our keyed power lug. That's the one that we want to be able to connect into to power the 201 FH. To determine which of these wires are which, we can do a continuity test. So we're going to verify that we have it set to continuity. Obviously the first one I'm going to check is the ground, pin 3. I'm assuming it's the black one, correct. Pin 2 is the constant power. I'm going to assume that one's the red one. Once again, I'm always correct. Now pin 1, which is the keyed power, check continuity, confirm that the white wire is the keyed power. Now what I need to do is I need to connect the harvesttec harness to the adapter harness. What I'm going to do is I'm going to strip off 1/4 inch of the insulation on the white and black wires, And I'm just using standard 14, 16 gauge butt connectors. Crimp that butt connector on there. Make sure I got a good solid crimp. I'm gonna do the same on the black wire. Now I'm gonna come to the harvesttec harness. Find the end of the harness here. We've got black and red. Red is the positive, black is the ground. Gonna mate. Got black wire to black wire. Crimp that on there. Give it a little tug, make sure it's secured. So for this adapter, it's red to white. Different manufacturers might have different color configurations for their adapter harnesses. So this one gives you a little bit of a diagram, but it's good. It's a good practice to check it anyway. 0 volts there. We've got 12 volts there, so we know that this is the constant power. This is the keyed power. This is the ground. We turn the key on. We get 12 volts there on the keyed power now. So we know that the one on the left is the one we want to connect to. So I'm taping this up, number one, to insulate the constant positive lead coming out of this adapter harness. Number two, it's going to add a little bit of strain relief for my connections here. So now we have one wire harness with the adapter connector and the harvesttec wire harness connection. So we're going to plug this in to the convenience outlet. Turn the nut so it's nice and tight. Okay, now we're going to route this wire back towards the existing, this is the chopper controller. We're going to route it back, and we're going to secure it here, and then we're going to route everything else down behind the seat and secure it nice and tidy back there.
Okay, so now once you get your harness fed up into your cab, you plug the extension harness back in. Go ahead and plug your key power harness into your key power plug, and then your extension harness plugs into your control box, which is mounted in the cab. In this case, we'll just put it behind the seat, and then your power cord that's supplied in the kit will plug right into your display that's also in the kit as well. In order to start it all up, you want to go ahead and turn on your screen there and open up the H2O SPFH app, which will be the yellow icon with the H2O icon on there. And then you'll see a blank screen with a red dot on the top right. That just indicates that it is currently not connected. We're going to go ahead and turn on our key power at this point. You'll see a green light start to flash, and then you will go ahead and start to see your monitor connect at that point. And then you will eventually see this green light slowly flash, and then ultimately be solid green light once it is connected successfully to your monitor. You will also see a green light on the top right as well, also showing that it is successfully connected. You also see your alfalfa icon, as well as your pull type forage harvester icon on the bottom there, and it reading less than 40%. So we are successfully connected at this point. So if you go to the bottom right, you'll see that wrench icon. That is your settings. And at this point, you can change between, right now we have it as alfalfa. Click on that icon. You can change between corn or alfalfa. So if we want to go corn, change it there. In this case, we're going to be doing alfalfa. Right now we have it set up as the pull type forage harvester on the New Holland pull type that we have right now, but you can go ahead and change it to any make that you have. Kloss, John Deere, New Holland, anything that you would need you can change it specifically to what you have. So in this case, it's just going to be a pull type. So we'll change it onto that. And then on the bottom here, you can see your offset, plus or minus 10 degrees based off of what you, if you have a lab sample and you want to kind of go off of that lab sample and it's giving you a slightly different reading on your 201 FH, you can change it however you would like. On the bottom here, you can see your serial number as well as your version on the bottom right. If you go back to home, on the top left, you can quickly adjust your brightness. If you just need a quick change, you can do that. You can also go into the actual settings on the screen and change it there as well. So that is how you successfully install your 201 FH for your forage harvester and get it up and running on your tablet as well. If you have any other questions, concerns, anything like that, feel free to give us a shout, 800-635-7468. We'd be happy to get you a system for your chopper as well as answer any of those questions.